Thank you. Senator Ayotte.
Thank you, and I certainly share Senator Shaheen's concerns, and so glad that this hearing is happening today. I appreciate it. And I wanted to ask you, Mr. Hayward, you're in our position. What are the most immediate steps that we need to take to ensure that that the fishermen don't go out of business? So your answer to Senator Shaheen is very, I mean, compelling and dire, and we don't want you to go out of business. We appreciate what you do. So what are the things you feel the most urgency for that you want us to do?
Well, the most critical thing at this point right now is the ability to use cod to harvest other fish. With our cod allocations being reduced by 95% in a 36-month period, it's become nearly impossible to operate in a profitable business. So, I mean, yes, that needs to be corrected, and that probably needs to be corrected through a science procedure.
But it's got to happen pretty quickly here, doesn't it?
It certainly does. I mean, these vessels aren't going to hold on a great deal longer. I mean, first and foremost, yes, the at-sea monitoring funding issue.
We got to get that immediately. You guys, you can't afford it, right? So we got to.
No, the small communities can't afford it. I don't even know that the bigger vessels can afford it. I mean, it might have the damages that it's going to cause to infrastructure. The ones that concern me the most is if the volumes of fish reduce so much that the shoreside infrastructure can't stay open, they can't do anything, then once they're gone, then it's not going to matter how much fish is left in the ocean, because nobody's going to have any place to put it. Nobody's going to have a way to get it off their boat. No one's going to have the tools that they need to operate a fishing business.
So, I mean, I certainly understand and appreciate the idea of moving to technology for this, but we got an issue right before us, right? That you need to be, the at-sea monitoring costs have to be covered now, or people will be out of business. And we can change the monitoring system any way we want, but if you're out of business, then we no longer have our fishermen. And this is an issue that I know Senator Shaheen and myself, others in New England have written on. That the language in the Appropriations Committee, I think, is clear, that NOAA's not following, that they should be funding this at-sea monitoring, and I'm sure we'll continue to put that language in and clarify, and we've got, but I think we've got to do whatever we can to get that funded right now. What other issues do you want to make sure that we address? The immediate, obviously, burning fire, but what's your view on the research and the information in terms of the science?
I think that the models need to be adjusted, to be honest with you, and I think that more tools need to be implemented into stock assessments, like even at-sea monitoring data, even catch per unit effort data. Things like this need to be included. I mean, the information that's acquired by the commercial fleet needs to have a role in the stock assessment, in the science models, one way or another. It has to get in there because
you're on the waters, and it's a pretty important observation you're making, right?
The commercial fleet's not comfortable with the ability for scientists to harvest fish.
Now, I've heard that. I've heard that.
Fish, for that matter.
Yeah, because you're out there on the waters and you're seeing different information that you feel like isn't taken into account.
In some cases, yes.
Yes, great. Dr. Wiersma, I know before your current position, you've been very active also with the New Hampshire Cooperative, and I had the chance, as you know, to come down and visit what's happening. So I see our fishermen also trying to take on new creative ways, obviously, to market fish and different species. But as I look at sort of the emergency before us, would you agree we've got to address the emergency and then go forward on if we're going to look at new technologies or development of sales of new species and things? So wanted to get your observation on that.
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Senator Ayotte. I think, Jamie made some really compelling arguments, and it does come down to, providing fishermen the opportunities to be able to stay in business. Since I've transitioned to EDF last year, I was actually very proud to be able to work hard. As you know, Congress has appropriated $3 million for electronic monitoring, which is immediately available for fishermen if they want to use that technology this year, but it's really the agency who hasn't approved it for you. So we're stuck in a position where, there is some short-term relief in that way, yet it isn't broadly available to the entire industry. There has to be an understanding of, a path forward that can get us out of this mess, and addressing these short-term needs, really is critical now, so that we can look at building more information into the stock assessment models, trying to provide that level of stability moving forward, which, as Jamie says, has to depend on more levels and increased amounts of data, new streams of data from fishermen, observations directly into science, addressing climate change and other factors in those models, which currently isn't taken into account and is critical to look at. So, I think that those are probably the largest immediate concerns.
Great, thank you. I want to thank both of you for being here, and also I appreciated the testimony of the other panelists too, who I know are facing challenges as well. And we all want to ensure that we continue to have the fishermen thriving and being able to really, I hope there's a third generation really for you, Mr. Hayward, and that's what we care about. So I appreciate you being here.